fate. The affair went nationwide. Then the Daily Mail weighed in with an appeal for crowdfunding to secure Sergeant Blackman in his prison cell, the defence he never got at trial. In an eye-watering response, the British public sent in £804,000 for a man they had never met or even seen. That kind of funding brought in probably the most effective defence QC at the bar. Jonathan Goldberg had defended in 80 court-martials and never lost one. He was engaged and brought with him his 2 brilliant juniors. Then the fight was really on, with a frantic establishment in full retreat. It took time, of course, but then we all know that the aphorism, "justice delayed is justice denied," is listed in any decent thesaurus as a pseudonym for codswallop. A few senior brass, to their shame, dug their heels in against the sergeant, but in street demonstrations, the sea of Green Berets of RM veterans were an angry tide. Finally, 5 law lords under the Lord Chief Justice sat in the appeal court in the Strand and listened. They heard all the technical evidence on the effects of grief, shock, horror and exhaustion on the human mind, and finally pronounced what the country had already decided. Sentence of murder quashed, replaced with manslaughter, meaning a variable sentence. They pronounced 7 years, divided by 2 for exemplary behaviour. Al Blackman had served 3.5. He walked. The key was not an old codger with his articles, letters and phone calls, nor yet a decent MP. It was partly a brilliant barrister and his team, but mainly it was the British people and their £800,000. God bless them. Frederick Forsyth. Prologue. Helmand Province, Afghanistan, 2011. It had been 4 years since I took my first breaths of the hot, urgent Afghanistan air, and I thought I knew the country well. But here is a lesson I learned in the heat of the deserts of Iraq and Afghanistan, a lesson that would follow me back to England and dog me into my life beyond. Every time you think you know the way the world turns, you're wrong. A person's life can turn on an instant, and for me, although I didn't know it, that instant was going to happen today. It was approaching the most scorching hour of the day, mid-afternoon on 15th of September 2011. The lads under my command in J Company, 42 Commando, had already been on patrol for 8 hours. 8 hours, a lifetime in Helmand Province, southern Afghanistan. We were lucky that day. Of the 8 men who went out, all 8 returned. That hadn't always been the case, so when I watched them tramp back into the compound, I did so with a sense of unbridled relief. At the end of the patrol, they were weary, depleted, sun-kissed, and ready to recuperate behind our compound walls. I knew how they felt. For 8 hours I'd hurtled around the compound, or else been sequestered in our ops room, which amounted to little more than a sweltering shipping container dropped down in a desert, where the air grew thicker, more humid and close with every breath. As the lads dekitted around me, or made for the twin tents that were what passed for home, I could feel the utter fatigue. There had been days when I'd come back from patrol, already having drunk the 10 litres of water I carried with me, and yet still been close to collapse. But after a day as brutal as this, it wasn't just our bodies that needed rest. Our minds were full to bursting as well. The heat of the desert is exhausting. The hours spent in the 40-degree heat, your skin coated with sweat so thick and viscous it feels like oil, your body laden down with weaponry and ammunition, radios and armour. It drains men much stronger than I am. In Afghanistan, the body armour alone can weigh 9 kilograms. The supply chain might find itself severed at any moment, so a soldier might carry between 5 and 10 litres of water on top of their other kit. All in all, it might mean he's carrying the equivalent of a 10-stone man over his shoulders, 8 hours a day through the searing heat. There's no more vivid way of saying it than a British soldier in the Middle East is encumbered by the same burden as a medieval knight in full plate armour. Yes, the physical demands of Helmand Province can feel incalculably large, but soldiers are trained for this. From basic training through to pre-tour exercises, the focus is on developing our bodies to handle the rigours of war. What so few of us mention are the mental